We're coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo with primetime news, live on Newsfirst. A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
Hello there, a very good evening. I'm Joel Artskun. We start off with a look at the headlines for this evening.
Talks between President and former President conclude on a positive note. 5 key points discussed. Former Minister Johnston Fernando returned to remand custody until Monday. Salman Khan sentenced to 5 years in prison over 2002 hit-and-run incident. Farmers in Gujarat in the clutches of a soybean mafia. An Action TV expose.
A meeting between President Maithripala Sirisena and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was held at the parliamentary complex earlier today. Minister Dumida Dissanayake said that the meeting, which was held on matters pertaining to the future of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, was successful.
This meeting commenced at 1:30 in the afternoon at the parliamentary complex. A group including Ministers Rajitha Senaratne, Dumida Dissanayake and MKDS Gunawardena and MPs Faisal Mustafa, Nimal Siripala de Silva, Anurupriya Dashanayapa, Talasala Peruma, Kumara Valgama, Professor G.L. Pires, Pandula Gunawardena and Mahindananda Alutkamage had attended the meeting. General Secretary of the SLFP, Anurupriya Dashanayapa, said that 5 key points were discussed during the 1-hour-long meeting. Issuing a communique, the General Secretary said that the key points such as the prime ministerial candidacy for the elections, dissolving of local government authorities, contesting under the UPFA ticket at the general election, obtaining of nominations for candidates and the Financial Crimes Division were discussed. The communique also reads that the President had emphasized the need for all party members to act in line with the decisions of the party's Central Working Committee.
We agreed to continue with these discussions and to also hold these discussions with the Central Working Committee. So we hope to hold discussions according to that agreement. It can also be said that this discussion, which was held regarding the victory of the party in the future, was a success. It can be noted that the discussion, which touched on several key issues, ended well. We discussed matters strictly relating to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and not any activities within the government which will create any controversy.
Following the meeting between President Sirisena and former President Rajapaksa, the others who attended held a separate meeting.
We hope to bring both the incumbent president and the former president as well as all other party members onto one platform. So this discussion ended well. Of course, it was very cordial. We did not fight each other with bottles and glasses. There was nothing of that sort. Although we could not come to a satisfactory agreement, all of us agreed to work together towards the victory of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party by continuing with these discussions. In the upcoming elections, we hope to establish a Sri Lanka Freedom Party-led United People's Freedom Alliance government and to bring about a Prime Minister from the SLFP.
Sajith Premadasa, the Minister of Housing and Samurdhi, says that he strongly believes President Maithripala Sirisena would never betray the people's mandate. The minister commented on this at an event in Mathura today.
Does he have no right to speak with the former president who is an advisor to the party? That is not a big deal. I strongly believe in President Maithripala Sirisena. No matter who raises questions, no matter what arguments are made, I know that President Maithripala Sirisena is a person who started from the bottom and has won the hearts of the people in all aspects of society. He displays the characteristics of a person who knows to show gratitude. No matter who raises any issue, I am certain that President Sirisena would never betray the mandate of 6.2 million people. I have faith in President Maithripala Sirisena even more than I have faith in myself. The presentation of financial aid and deeds to selected families in the Mathura district took place at the Cooperative Centre Hall in Mathura today under the auspices of Minister Sajith Premadasa. MP Buddhika Pathirana and several others were present for the event.
Take a look at a story we are following closely here at News First. Former Minister Johnston Fernando has been returned to remand custody until Monday. Fernando was produced before the Kurunegala Magistrates Court today.
Johnston Fernando was arrested yesterday after being summoned to the Financial Crimes Investigation Division to provide a statement pertaining to an ongoing investigation into financial irregularities at Satosa. He was produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrate's Court and remanded overnight until he could be produced before the Kurunegala Magistrate. Fernando was brought to the Kurunegala Magistrate's Court today. Fernando's lawyers noted that charges had been filed against the former minister for failure to make payments for goods valued at more than 5 million rupees, which had been procured from Satosa. Speaking in court today, the lawyers argued that a normal commercial transaction with Satosa cannot be classified as an offence committed under the Public Property Act. Nevertheless, the magistrate postponed hearings to the 11th and remanded MP Johnston Fernando and former Satosa chairman Nalin Fernando till then.
දංගල්ලා කෑ ගහලා ප්‍රශ්න ඇති කරගන්න එපා ඒක. කෑ ගහන්න එපා. කෑ ගහන්න දුව. හරි 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 හරි. ඒක අපි කතා කරන්න ආවේ නැත්නම් හොඳ නැහැ. හා? කෑ ගහන්න දුව ෂේප් එකේ මේක දාගන්න බෑ. හබතුමනි. උවනේ හකි. බයි දෙන්න දෙන්නේ හරි. ගන්න. In order to exact vengeance, they are sending our people to prison. We will not fault in the face of imprisonment. We are fearless. People who worked hard for Mahinda Rajapaksa in the development of the country are being hunted in this way today. In a few more days, 8 to 10 parliamentarians and provincial councillors have been called to court. We respect the court and the decisions of the court, but we call on the government to stop this hunt and enforce the law for fair reasons.
Welcome back to the news. Still in some local news, the JVP today filed a complaint with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, citing that the money had been embezzled in projects related to the 2013 Datukirula exhibition held in Ampara. Representatives of the JVP pointed out in the complaint that 130 million rupees had been obtained for several projects and deposited in a private account. The former District Secretary of Ampara, Neil D. Alvis, and former Secretary of Defence, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, have been named as respondents in the complaint. The complaint was filed relating to the financial fraud amounting to 130 million rupees committed with the intervention of Neil D. Alvis and Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The District Secretary has directed 3 cheques to the account of the former Secretary of Defence. The money had been exchanged. Large-scale financial fraud had taken place. Another respondent has been named in the petition. This is the chairman of the Ampara Urban Council. This chairman had taken over 40 purchase of land in the heart of Ampara, which was to be used for public benefit. He has obtained the land in violation of the Land Act and is in the process of using it for his personal gain. We have provided all the documents to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
A media briefing was convened by the Unity Through Power Devolution movement in Colombo today.
When
Gotabaya Rajapaksa was summoned to the Bribery Commission, big protests were staged. Even former ministers were present there, waving fake national flags. So how many violations were committed there? I handed over a letter to the Inspector General of Police that very evening. According to that letter, 28 people have been summoned to court on the 8th. What we expect in court is that the law of the land will be upheld. We would like to see that. We would like to see the court working independently. When Johnson Fernando was arrested and being taken away in handcuffs, he was screaming and complaining about good governance. He steals and speaks about good governance. This is a major problem. After all the stealing these ministers have done, when their thievery is being exposed one by one, they complain about good governance. Yes, this is good governance. This is the only country with good governance. If anyone else but Maitri comes, there will be no good governance. Good governance will perish.
The Criminal Investigations Department today questioned Western Provincial Councillor Uday Gammanpilla and 3 others over the use of a distorted national flag.
They were questioned over the displaying of a distorted national flag during a protest on the 23rd of April opposite the Bribery Commission. Police said that in addition to Uday Gammanpilla, provincial councillors Lalit Ellavala, Pradeep Udugoda and artist Madhumadava Aravinda were questioned and their statements were recorded.
Welcome back to the news. The sacred relics of Lord Buddha and the relics of the Maharahat Theros, which were brought to the Sirasa Vesak zone for devotees to pay homage, were returned to the respective temples today. The Sirasa Vesak zone took place at the MTVSports head office premises located at Braybrook Place, Colombo 2.
A religious ceremony took place early this morning for the sacred Agrashravaka relics of the Sariputta and Moggallana, Lord Buddha's chief disciples. Subsequent to a Theva ceremony, the Agrashravaka relics were placed in a special vehicle amidst the participation of senior officers from the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited and John Kills Holdings PLC. Later, the Agrashravaka relics were carried to the Agrashravaka Mahavihara in Malika Khanda, Colombo in a special procession. The relics were placed at the Mahavihara under the auspices of the President of the Mahabuddha Society of Sri Lanka, Venerable Banagal Upadesa Thero. Devotees were once again provided an opportunity to pay homage to the sacred relics subsequent to special religious observances. Our expectations was to place the sacred Agrashravaka relics at the Sirasa Vesak zone for 3 days and return to the Vihara. It will be after another year that devotees will be given an opportunity to pay homage to the relics once again. We worked tirelessly over the past 3 days. We obtained blessings. The Vesak zone was successful through cooperation. The sacred Sarvana relics and the relics of the 14 Maharahat Theros, which were brought to the Sirasa Vesak zone for the public to pay homage, were returned to the Yatihalagala Rajamahavihara in Kandy this morning. The relics were taken back to the temple in a special procession subsequent to the Theva ceremony. Devotees were given an opportunity to pay homage to the relics while lined up on either side of the road, en route to the Yatihalagala Rajamahavihara. Devotees in large numbers visited the Sirasa Vesak zone on its final day yesterday to pay homage to the sacred relics. The Sirasa Vesak zone was held for the 5th time and organized by the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited and John Kills Holdings PLC. As devotees lined up since early morning yesterday at the Sirasa Vesak zone down Braybrook Place, provisions were made for the devotees to pay homage to the sacred Sarvana relics of Lord Buddha and the relics of the Maharahat Theros at 1 last afternoon. The relics exposition was open until the early hours of today, allowing the final devotee too who had lined up an opportunity to pay homage to the sacred relics of Lord Buddha and the Maharahat Theros. Devotees were given the opportunity to pay homage to the relics of Lord Buddha's chief disciples Sariputta and Moggallana from last afternoon until early this morning. The relics were brought to the Sirasa Vesak zone from the Agrashravaka Mahavihara in Malika Khanda, Colombo.
වතාවට මේ වැන්දේ මේ කරන කතාවේ ගොඩාක් පින් සිද්ධ වෙන වැඩක්. මේ අපි වගේ කට්ටියට ඊළඟට ගෙනලා වන්දනයක ගොඩාක් පින් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඊයේත් ඇවිල්ලා වැඳලා ගියා අදත් ආවා මේ කට්ටියක් ආපු හින්දා. අපිට බොහොම පින් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. අපි හොඳට බැලුවා. බුදුන් දැක නිවන් දකින්න කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා.
සක්කලාපේ බැලුවා. වෙසක් කලාපේ හොඳයි මේ සිරසෙන් මේ වගේ දෙයක් කරපු අපි ගොඩක් සතුටු වෙනවා.
සර්වඥ ධාතුන් වහන්සේ දොහොත් මුදුන් තියලා වැඳගත්තා. අග්‍ර ශ්‍රාවක දේමත් වැඳගත්තා. ගාලහාමිලාට ගොඩාක් පිං. සිරසෙන් කරන සේවය මං ඉතාම අගයනවා. බාල වයස් හැම මහලු හැම දෙනාටම ධාතුන් වහන්සේලා බලා ගැනීමට මේ මගේ දෙමව්පියන්ට අද මේ බලා ගන්න ලැබිච්ච දෙක මට හරියට ස්වීප් එකක් ඇදුනා වගේ වාසනාවක්.
The Teletorana, a unique creation in view of the Sirasa Vesak zone, was displayed for 3 days, and large crowds also gathered to witness it yesterday as well. The Sanjeevaka Jatake, Vedabhaga Jatake and Sariputta Jatake stories were featured on the Teletorana. The creative input came from artists Palya Goda Dayananda, Arya Siri Kodituaku and Susil Jayanta. The rice dancel at the Sirasa Vesak zone was in operating until early this morning, along with tea, soft drink and herbal drinks dancels. The dancels were in operation throughout all 3 days for the convenience of the devotees visiting the Sirasa Vesak zone.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the concept of national schools needs to be changed. Speaking at an event in Nugegoda yesterday, the president emphasized that schools should not be divided based on ethnicity and religion. St. John's College Nugegoda celebrated its milestone centenary anniversary under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday. Ministers, parliamentarians, past pupils and students were present for the event. St. John's College was established in 1915 with 14 students and 2 teachers. At present, over 4,000 students receive their education at the school.
කොටසක් ජාතික පාසල් විදියට හඳුන්වපුවාම මම අහන්නේ අනික් ඒවා විජාතික පාසල්ද කියලායි.
When certain schools are termed as national schools, are the remaining schools foreign schools? The government before 1994 introduced the national school concept. At that time, my friend W.J.M. Lukubantara was the Minister of Education. In the Badulla district, which was his district, there were 37 national schools in 1994. There were none in the Polonnaruwa district. When there are other schools surrounding a national school in a certain area, the students will have a thinking like, those children go to a national school and we are in this school, which is not a national school. That is why I asked, are those schools foreign schools? When there is a school in a village, the village's name comes to the school. As the president, I am against the concept. I am strongly against schools being divided as Sinhala, Muslim or Tamil. A school cannot be divided in this free education based on language. Society today is very complex. There cannot be any division in society where there are human rights, fundamental rights, freedom, democracy and free education.
නිදහස ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයත් එක්ක නිදහස් අධ්‍යාපනය කියන්නේ කිසිම බෙදීමක් වෙන්න බෑ.
University students held demonstrations in 4 locations across the island today. The demonstrations were organized demanding the release of the university students who were arrested during a protest opposite the University Grants Commission recently.
The demonstrations were held representing the Sri Jayawardhanapura University, Kalaniya University, Peradeniya University and the Northwestern University. The demonstrations were held with the intervention of the student unions of the 4 universities. This demonstration commenced opposite the Sri Jayawardhanapura University. The students then engaged in a march towards Nugegoda. Our correspondent said that as a result of the demonstration, heavy vehicular traffic was reported on the high-level road. Meanwhile, students of the Kalaniya University commenced their demonstration in the environs of the Kalaniya University. Even though the students of the Kalaniya University had planned on marching towards the Kiribati town, Kiribati police had obtained a court order preventing the students from doing so. However, the students who had arrived up to the Colombo Kandy main road engaged in their protest on the main road. Students of the Peradeniya University engaged in their protest near the Galaha junction in Peradeniya. Our correspondent reported that the students engaged in the protest obstructing one lane of the Colombo-Kandy main road. Students of the Northwestern University also staged a protest today. The students marched to the Kuliyapitiya town and staged a demonstration.
In business news tonight, the Kilinochchi regional office of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was declared open today.
The opening ceremony was held under the auspices of Minister of Resettlement, Reconstruction and Hindu Affairs D.M. Swaminathan. The event saw the participation of ministers including Deputy Minister of Policy Planning and Economic Affairs Harsha De Silva and Governor of the Central Bank Archana Mahendran.
It is very important for us to make sure that we have the right policies in place. There have been policies of the past that created the problems that occurred subsequently. So in policy, whether it is taxation, whether it is regulation, we must make sure as policymakers that our policies are equitable, that they don't discriminate a particular group of people. Let us look to the future. The 5 years since the end of the war, one cannot but see the infrastructure development that has taken place in this part of the country. It would not be appropriate for me to stand here and say nothing has happened. A lot has happened. Infrastructure, the roads have come up, electricity has been provided, but that alone is not sufficient. We need to ensure that people feel that they belong, that they are part of this country as equal citizens with everyone else.
The average debt of the average family in the northern province, however, has actually increased. From 2009, when the average debt of a family was about 52,000 rupees, now we see families running a debt on average of about 194,000 rupees based on our surveys. Now this is a good thing in that it increases consumption and economic activity, but on the other hand, we also have to see that banks are lending prudently and that the families can repay these loans. So one aspect we are going to commence in the Kilinochchi branch is credit counseling. We are going to start classes where experts will call particularly low-income families and help them to plan how they borrow from banks to see that they do it in an affordable and a sustainable manner.
Peter Dutton, the Australian Immigration Minister, who is currently on a visit to Sri Lanka, says that discussions that were held with the government on bilateral ties and other topics such as illegal immigrants were productive. Dutton was speaking at a media briefing convened in Colombo this evening.
We have had a very productive couple of days, starting with the meeting with the Prime Minister. We were able to talk in a deep way about the way in which our relationship has evolved. We were able to talk about the assistance the Australian Government continues to provide and the way in which we want to continue that friendship, particularly where it will add to the reconciliation process into the future. These are very important issues to the Sri Lankan people, and therefore they're important issues for the Australian people as well. I'm very proud of the fact that we've had productive meetings. We've reinforced the important information sharing arrangements that we have in relation to important matters. We've been able to speak about the future of Sri Lanka in a very positive way.
The Australian Minister of Immigration and Border Protection noted that his country will continue to take tough measures to stop the people smuggling racket.
The comment that I'd make in relation to people movements into Australia is that the numbers have reduced significantly, and we want to make sure that that remains the case. And the Australian Government does not want to return to people losing their lives at sea, regardless of where they've commenced their journey. And we want to make sure that we can provide an opportunity in Australia for people who come to Australia legally. And the very clear message from our government remains absolutely resolute, and that is that the illegal way, the wrong way to Australia is closed. We are not going to allow people to arrive illegally in Australia by boat, and if people pay people smugglers to come to Australia, they will not be arriving in our country, because where it's safe to do so, we will turn those boats around and we'll work with countries where those people have come from to send those people back.
Well, one of our headline-making stories tonight. Up next is Action TV.
In the 1980s, when soybean cultivation was introduced to the country, the paddy fields in Huruluwewa were given prominence. The crop turned out to be the best alternative in the face of water shortages, which would later affect the fields of Huruluwewa in the yallow season. Since there is insufficient water to cultivate paddy in these fields in the yallow season, for the past 3 decades, soybeans have become the staple crop in the yallow season in Huruluwewa. The farmers of Huruluwewa, who have extensive experience in cultivating soybeans, learnt a lesson they would not soon forget in 2013, when they used seeds from a private supplier on the instructions of the then Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture. The farmers who planted these seeds, which were originally imported as animal feed, were made to observe their plants flowering and only dream of a good harvest. Although the then subject minister pledged that the farmers would receive compensation, the process of paying out compensation was itself plagued by irregularities. In the next yallow season, to the farmers' dismay, the Huruluwewa did not have enough water even for the cultivation of soybeans. The next yallow season has now dawned. At the harvest meeting held under the auspices of the District Secretary of Anuradhapura on the 31st of March, it was decided that soybeans would be cultivated on 8,400 of the 10,400 acres of the Huruluwewa scheme. However, at present, preparations for the cultivation of soybeans has been limited to 900 acres. This has been caused by a mafia which decides the price of soybeans.
The cost of production per kilo is about 46 rupees. The agreement we have signed for the minimum price per kilo of soybeans is 75 rupees. If the yield is 1,000 kilos per acre, then the revenue is 75,000 rupees per acre. So the farmer who spends 46,000 rupees receives a profit of 28,000, and this must last for 4 months.
Soybeans are among the food that is imported to the country annually at a cost of about 400 billion rupees. In spite of the fact that 28 soy products are produced in the country, the cultivation of soybeans has been limited to the yallow season in the Mahaweli 8 zone, Devahuwa and Huruluwewa as a result of a few companies stealing from the farmers.
In 2012, they got together with the Paddy Marketing Board, and the board purchased the soybeans at 85 rupees per kilo. They subsequently supplied it to the Three Posha Company, and the Paddy Marketing Board earned 1.5 million rupees. The Three Posha Project 2 is very unfair, since the farmer cannot supply soybeans directly to the Three Posha organization. This is because there are several companies which sell it to them at large sums, sometimes at 100 or 115 rupees per kilo.
Just as the farmers were made to agree to cultivate soybeans due to the water shortage, shouldn't these companies be made to agree to provide the farmers a fair price for their soybean harvest? District Secretary of Anuradhapura, this is over to you.
Your reporter Janika Kumara Singh from Valikanda filed this report.
A house in the Valikanda area came under attack from a wild elephant. Locals in the area claim that the wild elephants wandering into their village is a common occurrence and urge that the relevant officials address the matter swiftly.
Brick by brick, our hearts become one. The Run Bhumi Rally for Unity. 8 May, 9 a.m. Thale Manna, 12 p.m. Manna, 4 p.m. Madhu, 9th May, 9 a.m. Purasankulam, 12 p.m. Vaunia, 4 p.m. Mankulam, 10th May, 9 a.m. Kilinochi, 12 p.m. Punari, 4 p.m. Jaffna. Join us now for the nation's biggest rally.
Well, with that, it's time for us to wrap up the news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Joel Outscored.
And I'm Mahina Bongso. Take care and good night.
Good night.